We were just talking about lifestyle. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question because lifestyle to me is the most critical thing to consider with health. And we as patients and as doctors try to jump past it. And that's I was trained to jump past it. I
Mm,
was trained to not even consider it in traditional medical training. Um, and I tell every single one of my patients, if you haven't looked at your lifestyle and you haven't tried to improve your lifestyle without making it perfect, because perfection is another problem,
mhm.
you're going to fall short of your goals. So no matter what physical condition, pain, anything, no matter what it is, if you haven't addressed lifestyle issues, then you're going to fall short. So, and when I say lifestyle, I mean things like what you eat, how you move your body, whether it's with exercise or just active work, how well you sleep at night,
Mhm.
um, how well you handle your stress and your emotions and mental resiliency, your relationships with others and yourself, your spiritual connection, if that's important to you, your ability to um, follow things that you love to do, meaning like, do you have a purpose? Do you have a passion? If it's out,
Mhm.
even if it's not in your job, do you do things that fulfill your soul, fill your soul or fill your
Mhm.
bucket? And then there's one more. Oh yeah, your natural environment. So what do you surround your body with, both positive and negative? I think I covered
Yes.
it all. There's like 8 things.
Yeah, you said in the message you sent me, I was like, okay, I wanna dig into some more of these specifics, but I don't we'll see if we have time. Might
Yeah.
I'll have you back again. Um,
Well, yeah, and I actually just created a course on my website that's a free course that is literally like anyone can go in there, and there's a video on every single one of those sections
oh, cool.
with some handouts and stuff like that, just because
Okay.
I found that like I love taking care of patients, but when they see me one-on-one, I should really be doing like more like higher level doctoring work with them and not necessarily not necessarily lifestyle coaching. And so it kind of gives them an opportunity to philosophically understand what I mean by lifestyle and then come to see me as a doctor and do more
Yeah,
higher level care.
right. Yeah, film the general education stuff first, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
let's talk about you specifically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, so the community that we have, as you probably know, and I think I mentioned this to you, like they're exercisers,
Right.
and a lot of times they come to us with wanting to begin this process of a better lifestyle.
Completely.
And I always think like exercise gets like it gets the center stage almost of that. And maybe
Mhm.
it's just the realm I'm in, but I feel like that's
Right.
the exciting thing. That's, oh, I got to lose weight. Okay, I'm going to work out.
Right.
But
I would say food and exercise are the
yeah,
ones. Yep.
yeah. And a lot of our work lately has been trying to help. And that's where this podcast started, trying to help to expose at least our members in our community to all the other things that really contribute to their wellness.
100%. Yeah,
So,
because go ahead.
oh, no. Well, my question was, what are some of the things you found that give you the most bang for your buck when it comes to those lifestyle uh, aspects, those habits, those practices?
Yeah, I mean, and it's an important concept because the you can't run away from your fork. You've heard that before, right?
Mhm.
So like, I used to do this in my life. Is I used to run 6 7 miles a day, just hard. I was a hardcore exerciser, but I ate like crap, and I
Mhm.
didn't check my stress and I didn't sleep well. This is when I was a med student and a resident, and I was kind of gutting out those tough years. Um, and it took me to develop some symptoms and problems to actually like take a step back and say, oh my, I need to address these other parts of my life, right? I can't
Mhm.
just exercise all the time. It's not going to fix everything. So that was kind of my personal transition into looking at the whole picture. Um, and people, it's going to be really helpful for people you work with to realize that they have this goal. They have this goal that they're working towards. They're starting with exercise, but if you work on all the other aspects, it's just going to be synergistic, and then they're all going to work better, and the exercise will work better, and the weight loss
Mhm.
will be better. You're going to want to eat healthier, so it all kind of works together. um, and then personally, what the things that I do, and I kind of look at my own lifestyle, like I have hacks, right? Like,
Yeah.
first of all, it's never going to be perfect. And I acknowledge that and realize that. And I don't want it to be perfect because I like to have fun. I really like to have fun. And sometimes having fun doesn't mean it's healthy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
I'm from
absolutely.
Green Bay, Wisconsin. Like, we
Ben and
have not,
Jerry's. Yeah. Fish
yeah,
fry.
exactly. Right, exactly. So I'm from Wisconsin. I'm going to be a Wisconsin girl the rest of my life. Um, So that I have some things that I'm like pretty like consistent with, right? So people make fun of me all the time for my sleep wake schedule. You know, I'll be at a
Okay.
party, and if it's like getting close to 10 o'clock, I start to get kind of edgy. Like I get anxious because I'm like, I need to be in bed because I know I'm not going to sleep past 5:36 no matter what. And so if I cut into those evening hours, it's just going to affect my next day. So,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty rigid about my sleep wake schedule for the
Okay.
most part. Every once in a while, I'll let her rip and stay up till, midnight or 1 in the morning, but that's pretty rare.
Mhm.
Um, and my diet, that's, as you said, you've seen me
Yeah.
a lot doing stuff in my kitchen. Um, that has been an evolution, but it's becoming pretty bulletproof where I have the same breakfast every morning. I have leftovers for lunch. I don't stray in the snacks too often into processed foods or sugary foods. And the dinners are usually a pretty healthy dinner about 85% of the time.
Yeah.
And doing that kind of allows me to maintain how I want my life to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't like the word rigid because that makes it sound too strict, but I'm pretty rigid about my diet in a healthy way, I would say. Um, and then I'm trying to think of the other things that we talk. Oh, so exercise. So exercise, that's been a huge evolution for me as well. I exercise every single day. And
Okay.
and I think people think that's excessive, but people don't realize how we've become such a sedentary population. You know, we went from being hunters and gatherers and farmers and active factory workers. And I mean, we were active society. And then as time went on, starting with TV dinners and remote controls. And I mean, now we have cars that drive for us. And it's like, we're like we're like taking out everything about being a natural human being and making it automatic, and
Yeah.
and that's affecting all of our bodies. And so you can say exercising every day is a excessive, but we have to, like, if
Mhm.
you literally have to, if you want to be healthy. Does that make sense? So those are kind of like,
Yeah.
I kind of follow those things pretty rigidly. I
Okay.
could talk more about the other things
Yeah.
too, but
So those are like foundation habits for you.
yeah. Yeah. And I
Okay.
think, you also mentioned like a morning ritual. I would say that's like the last thing that I'm pretty
Mhm.
consistent with every day is I get up usually before anyone in the household gets up, just naturally. That's kind of how I wake up. And most of the time, unless I have like an early appointment or something, um, I will spend time just sitting in a chair, not meditating necessarily, maybe praying a little bit, maybe meditating a little bit, but like just not doing anything. And that's evolving. I've done meditation in the past. I try to make it more prayerful. And then after that, I'll spend some time either reading, whether it's like a prayer book or an inspirational book, or journaling. But I give myself about 30 minutes every morning of just like that time.
Okay.
And then I follow it with coffee, um, exercise, and breakfast. So that's
Okay.
also another pretty rigid routine I have.
Okay. Got it. I was gonna ask, like, it seems like I can imagine that you're super busy, but you've been able to carve out time for all these important things. So that's something we hear a lot, right? Like, oh, I'm too busy to
Yeah, we're all too
to
busy.
cook. I'm too busy to work out consistently.
Right.
So what would you tell your your
There,
patients if they told
there,
you that?
I mean, I'm getting more blunt with my patients. It's like, if you're coming to see me, you want to feel better. And if you want to feel better, these are non-negotiable parts of feeling better. You
Mm,
can't hack your way out of exercise, sleep, diet, and stress reduction and resiliency. You just can't.
got it.
So I don't care what supplements you take or drugs you take or what you do. You can't hack yourself out of the fact that you're a mammal. You know what I mean?
So you're just too busy to feel good then, I guess,
Yeah,
right?
like that's fine. We're not a good fit. And
Well,
that sounds really
yeah,
harsh, but we have to wake up to the reality. Like, you're either going to awaken to the fact that that you need to do some of these things, or you can continue to feel the way you feel. And there's a lot of people, I would say more people than not, who are resigned to feeling the way they want to feel.
mm,
And that's not my goal. That's not my target population. My
right,
target population is the people who are coming to you, who are inquisitive, who are wondering, who are exploring and trying different things out, because we shift more of us into that category, and it'll just trickle effect and affect other people.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Um, and it doesn't mean by any means that I have it all figured out. I always tell my patients, we're not going to figure, I have this lifestyle wheel that I use, and I'm like, let's try to fill in all these parts of your lifestyle wheel. get them as good as possible. And I said, but realize you're never going to have it all filled in, because if you had it all filled in, you'd probably be in heaven because you'd be perfect. You're
Well,
going to be on
that's not
another
life, right?
plane.
Yeah. Life's always changing too, right?
Yeah.
Like, so if
Right.
you've got it all filled in, then maybe you're a tree. You just
Right. Right. Or
stuck.
you're, lying to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I appreciated that when we were messaging earlier, one of the first things you said is that you're always learning.
Always.
So
Love it.
what are some of the resources that have benefited you that like the general population would have access to? Like I would imagine you have access to all kinds
Yeah.
of things that we wouldn't be necessarily reading, but
Yeah, I love books. I'm usually reading like anywhere between 3 and 5 books at a time. And it
okay.
doesn't mean I finish them quickly. It might take me 6 months to finish a book, but I personally love reading. I know that's not for everyone. My husband doesn't love reading. I have kids who, they're all on electronics, so they don't read anymore. We'll see what happens with that generation, but I'm still always encouraging it. But podcasts have been really powerful for me. So I was really kind of late to showing up to that game. I don't know how you were with that, but I really didn't start doing podcasts a lot until the last year.
Yeah, last couple of years for me too that I've
And I
really
just,
listened.
what I did is I started seeking out the people who I follow on social media and who
Mhm,
inspire me. And then I stalked them a little bit, and then went to their podcast page and would just kind of look through the episodes and see what looked interesting to me.
mhm.
And and then I found a couple of podcasts that for now are good for me and I'm learning a lot from. So that's been really educational for me. And then um, I I do a lot of continuing education through different um, institutions for doctors. So like there's the Anti-Aging Institute, it's called A4M, and they do a lot of training for physicians who are doing like anti-aging or integrative or functional medicine. And so I do a lot of classes through that.
Okay.
And then I try to surround myself with people who I'll learn from. So people that aren't necessarily like just like me. You know what I mean? Because you
Mhm.
can surround yourself with people who are all just like you, but then what are you going to do? Just talk about all the stuff you already know. So I try to like surround myself with people who are different than me, who have different opinions, political preferences, don't live in this state. So I have a tribe of people that are kind of all over the country and hopefully someday the world, just to get different perspectives on things and always be growing and learning.
Wow, cool. Thanks
That
for
makes
sharing
sense?
that. Yeah. I wanted could we dig into the word resiliency a little bit?
Yeah.
I think obviously after this past year that is a pretty, key word.
Very,
Hashtag
very key.
2020
Yes.
resiliency. Uh,
Yes.
what role have you found that plays in overall wellness? Or what are some ways let me try that again. What are some ways that we can develop that?
So it's such a simple answer because it's lifestyle. So resiliency, the way I see resiliency is it's your body's ability to stay in a state of balance despite all the stuff that goes on around you,
Mm,
whether it's road rage or political craziness, or you're exposed to an infection, a toxin in the environment. So how your body deals with what's happening to it and how it can stay in a pretty good state of balance is what resiliency means to me. So, and that's not just a physical thing. A resiliency is a mind, body, spirit thing, right? So you can make your body really resilient, but if you're not emotionally resilient and mentally resilient, you're going to suffer just as much as if your body's suffering. So that's how I view resiliency, and that's where you can just simplify it. I always come back to lifestyle, because if you are sleeping well, you're eating fairly healthy, um, you're exercising and moving your body in a healthy, balanced way, you're keeping connected with others so you're not lonely, um, you are getting out in nature and experiencing the natural world, and you're checking in on your mental health and your emotions. Those are all things that are just going to get your resiliency high and higher and higher. And
mhm.
and you're never gonna be perfect. I mean, I had road rage today. I was driving home from an appointment this morning and someone was going 23 in a 25-mile-an-hour lane. And I was like, just kind of like, oh, you know what I mean? So we're human beings, but it's just like, how much can you change your body's response and your reaction to that? Because,
Mhm.
having a stress hormone surge like that is never going to be good for you. So
Yeah.
how do you diminish that?
So as I'm listening, I feel like it's maybe recognizing when you're out of balance and then
Yes.
kind of like checking in maybe on, or you mentioned the wheel that you use with your patients, right?
Yep.
Like which one of those things right now is the thing that I need to give some attention to?
100%. I do that all the time. This might be TMI, but I'm a woman, so I have a cycle. And if I have bad PMS, so like that 24 hours before my period, that can either be no, like I don't even notice it. I just like go coast right through it, or it can feel really severe where I'll be like, gosh, why do I feel so off today? I feel kind
Mm,
of down. I don't want to do anything, or I'm really, angry or whatever. Um, and I can always look back at the week or two before and identify what was happening in my own lifestyle
mm,
that made me not balanced, because it comes, it'll come out hormonally with people.
wow.
Um, I'm trying to think of a good equivalent with men for that. I would say rage, anger and rage. You have men who are like super angry, raging all the time, super reactive, harsh.
Hmm.
That's a very, very indicative of being unbalanced.
Hmm.
And it might be unbalanced that they've had like a lifelong of emotional imbalance, or it might be that they're stressed at work and overtired or not eating healthy, whatever. It's usually a
Yeah.
combination of both.
Huh. It reminds me of, like the word disease. Like we think of illness, but it just means literally like you're not at ease. You're
Yeah,
in a state of
imbalance.
dis-ease. Like there's some
Yeah, I
signs
mean,
of disease here.
it's just like infections, with COVID, it's if your body's not in balance, you look at this is what frustrates me about COVID is all we talk about is the drugs to cure it and the vaccine and all this stuff. And like, if we look at what's actually happening, it's the people who are not in balance who are
Mm,
getting sick from it. And there's
mhm,
obviously outliers. There's obviously some people who are super healthy who have had some really disastrous consequences from it, but that's not the norm.
yeah.
By far the majority are elderly is one thing. They're out of balance just because their age, but then everyone else, it was because of comorbidities. It was because of obesity and diabetes
Mhm.
and all diseases that are preventable, mostly preventable with lifestyle. I mean, they say that like 80 to
Yeah.
90% of chronic disease is preventable.
Yeah.
So that's a classic example of balance and resiliency, and how your resiliency will break down if you're not in balance, and
Wow.
how lifestyle is always the answer
Yeah.
for most of the time.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about clean up your environment.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Like what does that mean? And
Yeah, that category is a little bit difficult to describe just because it's all inclusive. So I define that as like what your body's surrounded with, both positive and negative things. So um, when you're trying to like clean up your environment, you want to take out the stuff that's toxic. So that could be toxic people. We've all had people that we're in relationships with that we've let drag on for too long who are toxic. Cleaning up the like chemicals, endocrine disruptors, and that kind of stuff in your environment. So cosmetics, cleaning things in your
Mhm.
home, plastic shower curtains, BPA, all that kind of stuff. Um, Excessive use of alcohol, caffeine, drugs, those kind of
Mhm.
toxins. Those are some, and pesticides. So like, using the clean 15 dirty dozen to maybe choose more organic produce when it's affordable and when it's
Okay.
looks good. And then that's the negative stuff that you want to take out when you're cleaning up your environment. But then you also have to think about like, what can you add that's positive? So surround yourself with people you want to be like. They say you're going to be most like the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
Get out in nature. I mean, that alone is probably one of the
Yeah.
most powerful things that I have in my life is getting out in nature as much as
Get
possible,
some fresh air. Yeah.
get some fresh air, um, eating healthy food. It's like, what can you add that's positive? Clean up your house, make sure it's not just a total mess and cluttered and
Mm.
chaotic, because that's going to
Okay.
reflect how you feel internally.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a
Oh,
big category.
interesting. Yeah. Cool. I want to be respectful of your time here, but one last question.
Yeah.
As I can imagine, as someone is listening, they might be feeling like, whoa, I have a lot that could be fixed here.
Yes.
What advice would you give to someone who might be feeling that way, who maybe is just maybe starting out on this journey of improving their lifestyle?
Yeah. I love it. And first of all, I would say congratulations, because you've moved past the point of being unaware and complacent to being aware. And that's a great, huge, big step, because, and there's nothing wrong with being unaware. You know, there's some people who are unaware just because they haven't, are you still there? You're
Yeah.
breaking up a little bit.
Yep. I'm
Okay.
here.
There's some people who are unaware because they just haven't been exposed to it. So there's nothing wrong with being unaware, but to go from the step of unaware to aware is amazing. Congratulations. And then second of all, I would say, you know, and I had to be careful when I first started seeing patients in my practice. I used to just blast them with like every single thing in the lifestyle wheel. I'd be like, you have to do this and this and this, and I'd be so excited. And I have this thing where when I see a patient, I see how they are today, and I see how I would like them to be and what they need to do to get there. And I would like tell them everything all at once, and then they'd be super overwhelmed. So I've gotten a lot better at that. So now I say, okay, you're going to be climbing Mount Everest. Like, look at this as if you're climbing Mount Everest, and I'm one of your Sherpas, and you're going to have other Sherpas as well. Cause we're all like we're a tribe of healers basically. So depending on your needs, you're going to get people to help you. And look at this as a journey. So you have to just take your first step. So choose what you want to work on first. And that's where, when I use my lifestyle wheel, which, like I said, if people want, like if they went to my website, it's going to be easily accessible in this thing called the Docs Toolbox. All my handouts are in there for free. But basically you do the wheel, you look at your own lifestyle, and then you say, okay, I see this is where I'm missing the most. And this is what is really interesting to me. So I'm just naturally going to start there. So you naturally are seeing people who are starting with the exercise part.
Mhm.
A lot of times when I work with patients, we start with the food part just because that's kind of my mojo.
Yeah.
But I just say, start with one thing or a couple things, and then realize that you're going to get off path. Sometimes you're going to go backwards, but the end goal is that you get to the summit, and you'll get there if you keep working on it.
So just step one, where do you want to start?
Step one, yeah, it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I
Yeah.
can't remember who said that quote, but I think it's pretty
Yeah.
powerful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Dr. Lynn Wagner, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.